Hello everyone. Today's video would be on Unit 3 and we are done with the resume writing and job application. That was the last topic of Unit 2. We'll start with Unit 3 and Unit 3 is Ancient Architecture in India. Okay, before I go ahead with the topic and the lesson, what is the meaning of architecture? Yes, what is architecture? Yeah, I know most of you know what is the meaning, and you're right. Architecture is nothing but design, right? We have architectural engineering, isn't it? B-Arch. So they learn designing. So today we are going to talk about the ancient designs which are still in India. Yeah, we still have them around us in different states in India. So we're going to talk about all the ancient. Ancient is the olden designs that were in India. Fine. Okay, before I start with that, can you name any architectural wonder in the world for known for its beauty, for its design? Yeah, architecture. Yes. What comes to our mind the moment I say architecture is the Taj Mahal, which is in our own country, right? Or the Burj Khalifa. Have you heard of the Burj Khalifa? It is considered one of the skyscrapers. Scrapers in the sense it is so huge, so high that it looks like it is, scraping into the sky. Yeah, Burj Khalifa. I'll talk to you about a little later. But then, in the lesson Ancient Architecture, we have a few warm-up, activities. Let's finish that first. The first, architectural, wonder which is in our country, which is mentioned here in your textbook, is the Red Fort. What comes to your mind the moment you hear Red Fort? Yeah, you're right. Red Fort is, where the flag is hoisted on the Independence Day. The Prime Minister hoists the, national flag on the Independence Day at the Red Fort, after which we have a parade and the ceremony of Independence Day celebrations there, isn't it? This is what we know. Do you know who constructed the Red Fort? When was it constructed? It is one of the architectural wonders in India. The Red Fort was actually constructed. Yes, any idea who must have constructed it? The Mughal emperors. The Mughal emperors, constructed the Red Fort, and it was designed by the person called Ustad Ahmad Lahori. Ustad Ahmad Lahori designed the Red Fort, which is right now in Delhi, and most of the Mughal emperors made it their residence. Most of the Mughal emperors ruled from the Red Fort because the Red Fort was their palace. They used to live in the Red Fort and they used to rule from there, and most of them ruled from there. Even Shah Jahan, who was known for the Taj Mahal, also ruled from the Red Fort. Okay, so this is the speciality of Red Fort. Now, if you look at the next architectural wonder here, it is the Golden Temple, right? Golden Temple, as the name goes, the dome is made out of pure gold. That's why it is called the Golden Temple. But the actual name of that temple is Darbar Sahib Gurudwara. Golden Temple is actually a Gurudwara where the Sikhs worship, right? But then the name of that is Darbar Sahib Gurudwara, and which is in Amritsar. Okay, this is another architectural wonder of our country. And then coming to the next one is Mahabalipuram. Now, where is Mahabalipuram? Mahabalipuram is situated or is located in southern Chennai. It is in southern Chennai, Tamil Nadu, the state, and it is in between the Bay of Bengal and the Salt Lake. Mahabalipuram is in between the Bay of Bengal and the Salt Lake. It was built by the Pallava dynasty, and the temples here, in Mahabalipuram are popular for monolithic temples. Now, what is monolithic here? Mono means single, right? The temples which are, in Mahabalipuram are carved out of a single stone. They are carved out of a single stone. That's why they are called monolithic. A single stone, a lot of carving was done on a single stone. It was not a joint, they did not have joints of other rocks and, stones there. Out of a single stone, it was carved out. And that makes it an architectural wonder, out of a single stone. To give you a very easy example, the statue which is on the rock of Gilbitar. You know where is the rock of Gilbitar? Yes, this sounds so, unique, right? Where is the rock of Gilbitar? Gilbitar, the rock of Gilbitar is in our own Hyderabad. It is in the Hussain Sagar, yeah, popularly known as the Tank Bund. What do you know what is on the rock of Gilbitar? Yes, yes, you got it right. Yes, the statue of Buddha. And this statue is also a monolithic statue. It was carved out of one single stone. That is the specialization of the statue of Buddha. And I don't know if you remember this. Maybe you were too young then. Maybe you were in your nurseries or stuff like that. When the Buddha statue was being installed in the rock of Gilbitar, and at that time the chief minister of Andhra Pradesh, then Andhra Pradesh, now we are separated into Andhra and Telangana, but then it was a united state, Andhra Pradesh. The chief minister of Andhra Pradesh then was the popular actor N.T. Ramarao, and it was his dream, it was his vision to see that the Buddha statue is installed on the rock of Gilbitar. This is in the center of Hussain Sagar or Tangband. Okay, and this statue he got it done. He got it carved out of one stone, and it was transported from some region to our state, and it had to be installed on the rock of Gilbitar. And the time when the statue was being installed, the statue actually fell into the waters. It fell into the waters, and at that time that was a sensational news. The whole country was abuzz with this news that the Buddha statue fell into the waters of Hussain Sagar, and it went and settled down in the depth of the waters, and it took some years for them to retrieve that statue. It was too heavy and very difficult to retrieve it from the waters. Especially designed crane in the form of the letter J was designed. It was designed, and this crane was sent into the deep waters, and then the Buddha statue was retrieved with a lot of effort and difficulty, and then it was installed. Had this statue been made out of different pieces of stone, it would have broken easily the moment it fell into the waters. It was not damaged at all. It was not damaged, neither a crack appeared on the Buddha statue, just because of the reason that it was monolithic. It was carved out of one stone. Okay, so this is another easy example for you to remember what is the meaning of monolithic, right? Which is carved out of one stone. So Mahabalipuram is very popular because of the caves which are because of the temple which is carved out of one stone, right? Okay, and then we have the last one, Ellora caves. Ajanta and Ellora caves are very very popular, right? Earlier, during my time of study, any excursion that we wanted to go on, Ajanta Ellora caves were the first choice, because they had beautifully carved sculptures and stone engravings, and it was very popular then. We used to love to go to Ajanta and Ellora caves to watch them and to look at that architectural wonder there. Now, what is so special about Ajanta and Ellora caves? They are situated in Aurangabad, which is again from our country, which is in Maharashtra, and then they are actually rock cut temples. So the Ajanta Ellora caves have temples in them which are cut out of rock. Okay, they are cut out of rock, and most of the temples of Ajanta and Ellora are Buddhist temples. Yeah, most of the temples are Buddhist temples, and they also have Hindu deities and Jain deities and monuments there. And Ajanta Ellora caves, the speciality of these caves are they are 100 caves. They are 100 in number, and they were submerged under the earth. They were submerged under the earth, and when the architects excavated, when they were on an excavation, they actually found out that these caves are submerged under the earth, and that was excavated. They were excavated and they were brought to the surface, and then they became a famous tourist spot. So these are 4 examples of our country's architectural wonders. Now, as I told you, I'm going to talk to you about the Burj Khalifa. I have actually made a note of a few things here about Burj Khalifa. You don't have to write down, just listen to me. Burj Khalifa actually was established in the year 2010, 10 years ago, just 10 years. And then it is called a skyscraper because it reaches the sky. It's not touching the sky, but it looks like, it is going through the sky up. And it's situated in Dubai, UAE. And the height of Burj Khalifa is 829.8 meters. The height of Burj Khalifa is 829.8 meters. And the expenditure, to construct the Burj Khalifa, it costed them 1.5 billion US dollars. 1.5 billion US dollars. And the construction of the Burj Khalifa started in 2005. It took around 5 years for them to complete it, and now it is one of the biggest architectural wonders of the world. And they have thousands and thousands of people visiting that Burj Khalifa. It's a huge shopping complex. Every day there are thousands of people who are visiting there. It's a real architectural wonder. You must have seen it on television, right? So architectural wonders, this is one of them, which is not a part of your warm-up activity, but I thought it would be useful if you knew about this, right? Okay, now let's study about the ancient architecture in India from your textbook. I'm going to read it line by line. So I want you to follow it with me, and please keep a book and pen with you. In case if we come across any difficult words, I'm going to give you the meaning. I'm also going to give you some added information. This added information that I gave you actually would be very helpful when you started as an introduction to your answers. Any question, from this lesson, you can give an introduction about what we just spoke about, the different architectural wonders in our country, and then start writing your, answers. Alright? Okay. Now, the first line, we'll start with that. Ancient architecture in India. An important phase of Indian architecture. Architecture, Indian designing. Okay, Indian designing or Indian construction. So the important phase is the stage. Okay, the important time of Indian architecture began with the Mauryan period. What does that mean? The Mauryan dynasty actually started designing in India. They were the first ones to design and construct new things innovatively and very creatively. The Mauryan dynasty. And what comes to your mind the moment I say Mauryas? Yes, Chandragupta Maurya. He was a very popular king then, isn't it? Known for his architectural designing. Fine? Okay. The material prosperity of the Mauryans and a new religious consciousness led to achievements in all fields. Now here, material prosperity, that means the Mauryan dynasty was the wealthiest dynasty. They were very rich. They were very rich, very wealthy, because Chandragupta Maurya had conquered so many parts of the world. And so he was a ruler of different parts of the world, which include Kabul and Afghanistan. He actually reigned over all these kingdoms. So he was considered the richest. Not just because Chandragupta Maurya was rich, he was also religiously conscious, which means he was very spiritual. He gave a lot of importance to religion and gods and different deities. Now, because of the wealth that he had accumulated, and also because he was very spiritual, he was very God-fearing, and he had a lot of reverence to different gods and goddesses, architecture actually took birth in India, right? And then Megasthenes, the Greek ambassador of Seleucus Nicator. The pronunciation is Seleucus. You have to remember this. It is Seleucus. Though the spelling is a little different from my pronunciation, the correct pronunciation is Seleucus Nicator. Okay. Now, who is Megasthenes and who is Seleucus Nicator? Seleucus Nicator actually worked as an army general. He was an army general who was in charge of the infantry when Alexander the Great was the king. Now, as you know, Alexander is considered to be the most handsome king, isn't it? Alexander the Great. He was considered the Greek god. Alexander was worshipped as a Greek god because of his handsomeness. Yeah, Greek, when somebody is referred to as an Alexander, he is considered to be the most handsome person. So Alexander the Great was a very handsome Greek king. Now under Alexander, when Alexander was the king, Seleucus Nicator was under him as an army general. He used to, take care of the infantry. Infantry is, all the weapons that were used, during the war. Everything, he was the army, he was the general, the topmost position in Alexander's kingdom. Now, after Alexander, died, Seleucus Nicator, along with three more people, took up the reins of Alexander's kingdom. And when Alexander was just on the dying bed, on the deathbed, somebody questioned him, "Whom do we want to, take up your throne? Whom do you want to be your successor?" So Alexander Great named four people. Yeah, out of the four people, Seleucus Nicator was one of them, right? He said, "I want these four people to rule after my death." And according to his last wish, the four people were given power and authority over Alexander the Great's kingdom. So that is how Seleucus Nicator became one of the rulers of his kingdom. Now, when Seleucus Nicator became the king, Megasthenes was working under Seleucus Nicator, and Megasthenes was as good as Seleucus Nicator. Like, Alexander considered Seleucus Nicator to be one of his, kings. After his death, Seleucus Nicator also considered Megasthenes to be a very powerful, very intelligent, wise and knowledgeable person. Now here what happened is, Seleucus Nicator made him the ambassador. Ambassador in the sense he was representing the kingdom of Seleucus Nicator. Now what was the kingdom of Seleucus Nicator? It was Macedonia. Macedonia was the place which, Seleucus Nicator was ruling over, and Megasthenes was the Greek ambassador. Yeah, all Macedonia belonged to the Greek, so he was considered an ambassador. Ambassador is the person who represents their country. Now we have ambassadors, American ambassador. We have embassy, right? We have American embassy. There are different countries, Canadian embassy. We have all this. So like that, he was the ambassador of the Greek kingdom, which was being ruled by Seleucus Nicator. Alright, I hope I have made this understood. Now, Megasthenes, the Greek ambassador of Seleucus Nicator, who visited the Mauryan court, described Chandragupta Maurya's palace as an excellent architectural achievement. It was a large palace carved out of wood. Now, as I just spoke to you earlier, Mauryan Empire or Chandragupta Maurya was very interested and passionate about designing, right? It was during his time that designing actually took birth in our country. He started designing, different temples and different structures. Now, when Megasthenes, as an ambassador, came to Chandragupta Maurya's dynasty, he was amazed at the architectural wonders that he saw. He saw that the Mauryan palace, the palace in which the king was living, was carved out of wood. There was so much of wood carving all around the palace that it amazed Megasthenes. So he went around, his country, and he spoke about the creativity, the innovations and the architectural wonders that he happened to see in Chandragupta Maurya, right? So he started the designing, the architectural designing in our country. And then the next slide. There were significant advancements in the field of architecture during Ashoka's reign. When was his reign? 268 to 232 BC. Now here, Mauryan kingdom had already started designing. Yeah, they had their own designs and they started carving things. But when it went to Ashoka, the king after Maurya, the Ashoka, the Ashokan empire, what happened? They started making a lot of significant means, which is very apparent, very clear, lot of advancement in the architecture. He brought in new ideas, new designs, and a lot of more creativity was seen when compared to Mauryan Empire. So Ashoka was also a person behind the designing of the Indian architecture. Alright. Now, next slide. Mauryan art and architecture imbibed the influence of the Persians and the Greeks. Now, the designs that existed during the Mauryan Empire, they imbibed is, they had the Persian and the Greek architecture in it. So what it meant is, they copied the Persian and the Greek art. Everything that was in Persia and Greek was actually seen in the Mauryan dynasty. We are all good copycats, aren't we? Yeah, we copy so many things from abroad. All the Western culture that is being, implemented in our country is all the versions of the Western culture, right? So in the same area, in the same way, the Mauryan dynasty also imbibed Persian and Greek architecture. So a lot of Persian design and Greek designing were visible in Mauryan architecture. And the next one. During the reign of Ashoka, many monolithic stone pillars were erected. Now, monolithic, as I told you, mono means one. So, single stoned carving, okay, single stone carved pillars were erected in the Ashokan dynasty. In his kingdom, you could see a lot of pillars, huge pillars which were carved out of one stone. Okay, that was, the prominence of architecture in his kingdom. And then the highly polished pillars with animal figures adorning is decorated. The top, which means capitals, are unique and remarkable. Now these pillars were not just plain pillars. They had a lot of animal structures carved on them, and this made it very popular, right? And then this made it remarkable. The lion capital of the Sarnath pillar. Now, lion capital and Sarnath. Sarnath was the capital city of the Ashoka Empire. Now, what is the lion capital? You need to understand what the lion capital is. What is called the lion capital? The lion capital is nothing but the lions that you see on our national emblem. Our national emblem is the lions, right? You find four lions standing back to back, where you can only see three lions, and then one lion is at the back of the emblem, which is not seen. And we have our popular film actor Sai Kumar, who talks about the fourth lion. Yeah, have you seen it? He says the police officer is the fourth lion and the four lions on the emblem. Now, this emblem of our country actually came from the lion capital, which was erected during the Ashoka Empire. Ashoka, the king Ashoka, was the person behind the sculpting of the lions, which are standing back to back. And below the lions is a surface, which, a very huge surface, which has animals carved around it. Okay, so usually the pillars of Ashoka had a lot of animal carving on it, and the emblem, which is now the Indian emblem, it is still present in the Sarnath Museum. And where is Sarnath? Sarnath is in Uttar Pradesh. So Sarnath, there is a museum in Sarnath where the original lion capital is actually, preserved. So the four lions were, sculptured during the Ashoka reign. And then it has been accepted as the emblem of the Indian Republic. So the Indian Republic has accepted that as our national emblem, the four lions standing back to back. Each pillar weighs about 50 tons and is about 50 feet height. Now just imagine, during the reign of Ashoka, there were no cranes. We were not technologically advanced. 50 feet pillar, imagine the height, and it was purely done by laborers, by human beings. They had to, human labor. They erected this 50 feet, pillar, and what was the weight of that 50 feet pillar? It was 50 tons. 50 tons, and this was something very remarkable about the Ashoka kingdom. Alright, so in my next video I'm going to continue with the lesson there. Thank you so much.